Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. If you're able to see me, give me a thumbs up. Make some digital noise out there so I know that this thing is working right for everyone. I can see Upasna, Ashok Kamble, Lovin Ratra. Make some digital noise so I can see this thing is working for us. Hey, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all here. This is the very first of its kind, and in my opinion, this is one of the simplest alumni meets that we've been ever able to pull off. And here's the promised coffee with Jerry for those of you who are here. And I'm looking forward to having a very engaging conversation with Achin, who was one of my most curious boys. And I'm ever so proud of everything that he's done. And it's wonderful to see that he's leading from the front and he is at Hotelivate as managing partner. It is an absolutely wonderful opportunity. I'm going to bring him on board in a little while, and we're looking forward to grilling him. It's been at least 22 years since I've last grilled him in a classroom, so I'm looking forward to grilling him. So my question papers are ready, and I'm hoping that he's going to have some really good answers, because 22 years after you leave IHM Aura, life changes a lot, and we're trying to figure out how much his life has changed ever since. So lovely to see you all come on board. Wonderful to have you here. And I'm looking forward to having an exciting conversation over the next 30 odd minutes. So let's take a look at what my boy Achin is doing. But in the interim, all of you who are joining me from within the Institute, boys and girls, here is Dr. Jayaram, not in a class, but otherwise talking to you. For all the young ones, all the Smurfs and Smurfettes, here's Papa Smurf in full action. And for all of you who left me before I became Papa Smurf, here is the much promised coffee with Jerry this evening. So cheers to that. Lovely to see you all. Absolutely wonderful. I can see Angeline here. She's the one who called me Papa Smurf. So here's the mischief online now. Absolutely lovely to see you all come on here. Super. I can see a lot of digital noise, and I'm hoping many of my other alums are going to be joining this conversation. I hope we're going to have a fantastic learning experience, because we're going to invite insights, and we're going to invite a very unique perspective of what life looks like on the other side. Definitely not from the operations side, but from a more consulting valuation point of view. And I'm looking forward to bringing Achin on board. I promised him 6 p.m. I'm here in office trying to get things moving. So let's hope we get Achin here on time as promised. And I look forward to having an engaging conversation. And remember to keep the questions coming in, right? We're going to be looking at your questions, and we'll look at answering some of those questions. If I can't answer those questions today, I promise you, I will have a separate Q&A. So long as all those questions are tracked, I promise you I'm going to answer each of those questions. You know for a fact that I'm not the one to shy from telling you the truth. So I can assure you, you're going to hear the truth from me, and absolutely feels wonderful for me as well. I'm seeing a lot of names here. And hey, Sangeeta, here's the coffee, okay? I'm sure you got one for yourself as well. So coffee with Jerry is on. I'm just waiting to bring Achin on board, and then we'll kick the conversation in. Hi Achin, if you're able to hear me. Hey Achin, good to see you, Achin. How are you this evening?
Fantastic, good to see you, Dr. Jayaram. How are you?
Hey, lovely. Here's the coffee, okay? I hope you have your cuppa that cheers.
Indeed. Cheers to you.
All right. So, well, I can see that there's a lot of color in your cuppa, but mine still remained as blank as you can imagine. But it's absolutely wonderful to connect with you. As we speak right now, we've got about 74 people, and the whole tribe is growing. Just to say, uh, in what way do I thank you for finding the time to kick off this very unique program that our digital marketing team has put in place? This one is called a virtual connection with our alumni, and goes without saying, you are one of the earliest alumni who had such a strong impact on me because of the manner in which you dedicated yourself to digging below the surface and finding answers for a lot of questions that you must have then landed up answering in the 22 years after you left IHMA. And I know that you've been in the US, and I know that you've worked very hard towards furthering your own education. I also know for a fact that you've gone much outside these boundaries of hospitality, hotels. I know that you've gone to the chartered institutions. And can I just say how proud I am? I'm so proud of having this conversation. COVID or no COVID, at the end of the day, it's about making the connection. I'm so happy that with this connection with you today, Achin. So, shall we kick in?
Sure.
Unless you have some thoughts and you want to.
All I'd like to say is hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Jayaram and IHM Aurangabad for this kind invitation. I found it very interesting that you introduced me as one of your most curious boys. Here's the, while that was certainly, I would imagine, true some 22 years ago, here we have two men sitting with white beards talking to each other. So no longer a boy, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so I'm going to ask you whether you got your white beard before me.
I wish I did. In fact, I almost embarrassed to say I tried long and hard to grow a beard. It just wouldn't grow. And the whole reason to do that was because I wanted to be looked upon a little more seriously by my clients. You know, in the world of consulting, substance is important. But before you can deliver substance and before you can add value to your clients, you need to make them your clients. And truth be told, a clean-shaven me wasn't really cutting it. People wouldn't believe me to really give them the advice that I thought they could. And I think the beard helps.
Oh, so welcome to Salt and Pepper. It's a really cool thing to have. I'm told by my daughter that it gives me a lot more presence than I otherwise had. But that being said, it's been a very long time, Achin, and you know it's been 22 years. And though you've been coming to the campus off and on, I want you to just rewind a little bit and tell me what it is that's happened over those past 22 years. And the simplest way in which we can do that is for you to tell me one phenomenal event, you know, in each of those decades. So it's 2 decades. And can you tell me two big events that, you know, remain imprinted in your memory forever since you left college?
Sure. So I think it's difficult to put that to such a small number, but I'm going to try. I think right off the bat, what comes to mind, one of my earliest, you know, let me try and put it like this. When life goes full circle, those memories become possibly the most interesting ones. And I think the two that stand out in my mind vis-a-vis a full circle life is being at IHMA in the late 90s, looking at the legendary A.B. Kerkar as a larger than life image, and always wanting to just be in his presence and around him back in those days, and just aspiring to do you know, a very small portion of what he'd achieved. And then fast forward about 15 years, which is about 4 or 5 years ago, to have the opportunity to invite him to my conference, to bestow upon him the Lifetime Achievement Award, and to just have spent that quality time with him is certainly one of my most memorable moments. It's like I said, life coming full circle. I think the other one closer to the world of hospitality, finance, and consulting, which is what I've done for the longest time. Perhaps what I've really enjoyed is the journey I have had in the consulting sphere, again, late 90s, early 2000, reading a lot of publications and articles written by, again, the legendary Steve Rushmore, founder of HVS, and wanting to have to get to know him better, to then having joined HVS in 2007 with Manav here in India, to then having had a dream run, really becoming the managing director for South Asia. And I thought that was really as good as it gets, and it got better, right? I got the opportunity, thanks to Manav and Steve, to get elevated to be one of 8 people in the entire organization that sat in that office in Mineola in New York to define the future strategy of HVS and to lead the global feasibility strategy for HVS. And doesn't stop there. You have a great run and you really enjoy yourself, and you realize that life keeps going on. And probably the single most important professional event I could claim is certainly 3.5 years ago, the creation of Hotelivate, and the rush you have and the joy you have of going into entrepreneurship and creating your own hospitality consulting brand. We have 6 services now. We have 5 offices. We're aspiring to open 2 more in the next quarter, 1 in India, 1 abroad. So it's been a good run, yeah. These are the 2 that stand out, though.
Thank you for that, Achin. I want you to tell me very honestly, has it been a smooth ride all along?
No, it never is. I mean, it'd be boring if it was, right? There's been ups and downs. Clearly, we all find ourselves in what you would qualify as a down right now, in the midst of this pandemic, and things are tough. Hospitality is suffering by virtue of that. Hospitality consulting is suffering. And this is one of the many down cycles. I mean, this is something I'm sure you teach your students time and time again. One of the most cyclical industries is hospitality. And cyclicity is essentially ups and downs. And one needs to adjust to both. There's been bad years, but they've always been forward years.
What does the future look like to you?
Well, let me answer that both personally and professionally. Personally, I look forward to continuing to spend a lot of time. Truth be told, I don't do enough of that with my wife and daughters. As my girls begin to grow up, that joy is, I guess, again, difficult to put in words. So I keep looking forward to every phase of their life. Professionally, we're very excited about, like I just mentioned, about growth. Most in this pandemic have seen erosion. We've looked at this as an opportunity to restructure, to reformat, to reboot, and to grow by result. And we're getting in the space where we're going to now have an office in Dubai, hopefully very soon. We already have presence in Singapore and Jakarta, and we're already present in Delhi, Bombay, and Chennai in India. And then we're looking at a Bengaluru office soon. We're looking at hopefully growing our footprint in other geographies. And I've been blessed to have some fantastic partners, a great team, many of whom are IHM Aurangabad alums. And I think the future for me is really about growing the Hotelivate brand and its service footprint as far as we can.
Hey, thank you for that, Achin. So, you know what, there are 2 things that strike me. Number one, and closer to home, really, is the relationship with your girls, your daughters. So do they think you're a cool papa, or do they think you've become a fuddy-duddy old man like many of my student thinks I have?
No, in fact, I often ask them this, right? And so they spend obviously Pooja, and I've said this before in other interactions with people. My wife Pooja has had both the good fortune and the Herculean task of spending more time with the girls than I do. I wish I'd spend more time with them. I do that on the weekends, of course, and they'll give me all kinds of, especially the elder one who's 11 now. They'll give me all kinds of advice already. Wear more color. Black is not a color because all you wear is black. No, but seriously, I think we have a good equation. I enjoy my time with them for sure. I hope they do too, but it's not enough. I really wish I could change that.
I don't think you take your daughters very seriously because you're wearing black again today.
That is correct. I stick to black and blue.
I think it's a hotelier's go-to color, but you know, how cool do your daughters say you are?
I don't think they find me to be very cool, truth be told. I might be the more strict of the 2 parents, so perhaps Pooja is the cooler one.
Okay, so what are you doing about it? How are you going to be more cool? Because, you know, your girls are going to grow up in the next 10, 12 years, and then, you know, life is going to be very different. You got a big job ahead if you're trying to be a cool dad, yeah?
You are right. And maybe I need to try harder, but I don't think I'm doing a whole lot yet.
Well, you know what? With that as a backdrop, over the past couple of years, I've been noticing that you've hired some of our brightest brains, and particularly those who are sitting in my class. And I'm sure there's a lot of inner reading when it comes to working with these people. How does it feel to lead millennials? I mean, I've heard the Simon Sinek version of it, but I'd like to hear the Achin Khanna version of this.
So interesting you say that. My entire team is millennials. So everybody in my team who works in the consulting space are all millennials. Like I said, some of them are Aurangabad people also. I think learnings have been plenty. My view is millennials seek empathy. They're not like the previous generation. An empathetic leader is one they're looking for. They're looking for inclusiveness. They're looking to be understood and not just be told. So very interesting to me is that I can't just go and tell somebody in my team do this. I need to explain why, and I need to explain what it will achieve and why that's important and how that helps you, how that helps the firm, how that helps the client. What is the goal seek? It's not just about telling them what to do. It's about telling them why it's important and what does it get in return for the firm and for yourselves and so forth. So that's refreshing because they're not just going to sit there and accept what they're being told. They're from a generation that questions, and that's a good thing. They are certainly, their outlook to the professional world is certainly different from our generations. They're obviously far more exposed to things far earlier than we were, which is again a benefit. I think we learned, my generation and yours might not be too far apart, sir. I think we're only a few years apart, but both our generations probably learned the hard way. And they don't have to go through that, and that's splendid. And those in this group of millennials that recognize this, that take benefit of that, and that look at this period of their education years and their early working years as quantum leap years are the ones that will indeed take quantum leaps.
So here's a question. How difficult do you reckon it is for a millennial to get a job today as compared to how tough it was for you to get a job when you left college?
Well, it goes to the basics of demand and supply, right? If we were to, for a minute, ignore the immediate detriment of COVID and the challenges it poses for all industries, not just ours from a job standpoint, but that aside, I think it's a no-brainer. The opportunities are far more vast and far more explicit and far more varied today than they were probably 22, 23 years ago. A hotel management graduate worked in hotels, period. And that is certainly not the case today. And even within hotels, I don't think in our time we aspired or even thought about moving out of hotel school and joining corporate finance or real estate finance, or looking at a career in business development or in strategy. These were not thoughts that went into the mind of a typical hotel management graduate back in the day. But there's a fair number of people and a fair number of opportunities in those spaces today that present themselves, and the brightest of them will probably pursue it. Nothing wrong with going back to hotels. I mean, we all went to hotel school to work in hotels, and it's a splendid field. But it doesn't have to stop at that. You could be a hotel operations guy. You could be a hotel marketing lady. You could be in HR. You could be in revenue. You could be in finance. You could be in strategy. You could be in development. There really is no end. And this is all just hotels. There is enough and more in the ancillary space that one can explore. Hospitality, and by extension of that, travel, trade, and tourism are vast industries. As many of your students may be aware, the travel and tourism sector in India contributes close to 10% of the nation's gross domestic product. That's humongous. There's about 50 million people in India working in travel, trade, and tourism. We're a very, very big industry, and there's a lot of ancillaries that one can explore.
Okay, so I think quick one. What is it that a millennial can learn from you?
Okay, that's a tough one. Now I don't know what a millennial can learn from me. I think millennials can learn. Oh, your kids are going to hate me. They can learn patience.
Yeah, that's a big one. Well, it's also a very important virtue if you ever decide to get married. So I think it's a life lesson, it's lifelong learning. And I think it's really about making sure that you have the right weapons in your arsenal, and without flinching about this. Patience definitely is one. I'll go with that one. And here's another one. What are these future leaders going to be like? So if somebody wishes to lead in a post-pandemic world, what is it that's going to make them tick? What is going to help people lead better in the future?
Can I say, my response may sound typical, but that's only because after all these years, I've realized that the age-old wisdom wasn't incorrect after all. To me, and I've been leading teams for a while now, there are really three core skills any leader should have, and I'm even discounting the pandemic question that you've asked, and I'm saying that was relevant before the pandemic. It will remain relevant after the pandemic. Leading with passion,
Right.
with honesty,
Right.
and leading with humility. You have
Beautiful.
these three skills, you're a good leader. That's how I see it.
Oh, beautiful. You're citing all the classics, and it takes me back to some things that don't change. One of my favorite one-liners always has been, style doesn't go out of fashion. And therefore, part of the style story here is to make sure that you're passionate, you're honest, and you're upright, and you're delivering everything with all the sincerity. Thank you for that one. Okay, I'm going to ask you some difficult ones now. What is the Achin Khanna of 2020 like, and what is the Achin Khanna of 1997, 98 like in terms of two different personalities? So if you were 20 again, what would you do differently today in 2020?
Wow. I guess a lot of things. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is that, again, when I was 20, when I was 21, 22, finishing years of college and starting years of your career, and that's true for a lot of people even today, I would imagine, when they're in their early 20s. We have, for some reason, maybe because it's our early upbringing in India as a very staunch education-focused culture, but for one reason or another, all of us have somehow grown up looking at the idea of learning as a chore or as a task, and saying, I have to do this, not that I want to do this. And I don't think I was any different, and I don't think most people today may be very different. We look at the idea of education, of learning, of growing as something we have to do, not something we want to do. And you can agree with me, I know, on this, and I know a lot of others will as they grow older. The more you grow in life, the more you realize, I wish I could take time out to learn this. I wish I could take time out to gather this skill. And the hunger and the yearn grows as you grow older to learn more and to up your skills. And that's when you don't have the time for it. And that's when you're too busy running, developing a career, getting married, having children, taking care of parents, doing a variety of things. You get busier as you get older, and your opportunity to learn or to have dedicated time to learn diminishes. And I wish I had this realization when I was 20, and I would have done so much more from a learning standpoint. Again, sounds cliched, I get it, but it is true. I want to do things today that I don't get time for, and when I had the time, I was running away from them. And I guess it's a little bit of the youth, and at that stage, you want to really just have fun, and that's fine. Fun's important. But when you do get the opportunity, and today in 2020, there's enough and more opportunity to learn across a variety of platforms, and both online and offline, and both paid and free, and so on and so forth, right? So to stop that process or to ignore that process would be at our own peril, and I've realized that, and I would have done that differently.
Bottom line is learn, and this is what I keep saying to the students. I've been here now. This is my 25th year at IHM. And that mantra hasn't changed. And I keep saying to everyone, learn. And it's so heartening for me to see you after so many years telling them exactly the same thing that I've been saying in all the classes. So a couple of quick ones. And this is what's coming out from the chats. So what kind of books or TED Talks do you recommend for future hospitality leaders, number one? And close in on the heels of that question, if you could say, how is all of this information pushing us towards what to expect in terms of industry recovery standards in the next 2 years?
Sure. Let me answer the first one, and then I'll talk about the industry and where we are. Uh, I like to read a wide variety of books. Reading, writing have both been core to me, and analytics and math and finance came to me with time. But what I've always enjoyed, as you know, is the process of reading and writing. And I read a whole wide variety of books. I would recommend every reader does the same. Boxing yourself into one type of reading style is to you, again, to your own peril. You're then not really expanding your horizon. Read fiction, and read good fiction. Read some inspirational books, but not necessarily the ones that talk about abstract inspiration. I would say business inspiration is good. I'll give you the last book I finished. I just finished a book called The Coffee Can Portfolio. Now, granted, that's a book that talks about how to make sensible investment decisions in the stock market. But the learnings were not just about the stock market. I had another chat with another YouTube interviewer very recently, where I mentioned to her that there was a saying in that book, and I found that very sensible. The saying goes like this: the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And what I said is that, and what I believe actually is that that's true for everything in life. The best time to do anything was probably 20 years ago, but if you didn't, you've not missed the boat. The second best time is now, and no time like now, right? So read books that make you think, and TED Talk, same story. I mean, a few speakers in our sector who I find inspirational and who I look up to. For those of you who've not heard Sébastien Bazin, CEO of Accor Group of Hotels, you must. There's a lot of online content of him. I find his thought process to be a very forward-looking and a very refreshing one. Closer to home, I think the leaders in all our hotel companies, Mr. Chatwal at Taj, Mr. Oberoi at EIH. For many, many years, you had Rajiv Kaul at Leela, and now Anurag's taken charge, and he's a brilliant gentleman. ITC and Mr. Anand. There's been a lot of good senior leadership that has given its time over online and offline channels with their thoughts to people for them to consume, and you must listen to as much as you can from people from our sector because it gives you that perspective that you will probably desire.
Thank you.
Second question too. Where are we in the middle of this pandemic vis-a-vis hospitality? I'll try and keep this as short as we can. I know we're stuck in time as well. We've obviously had a horrendous year. India works on fiscal year terms, as you know, April to March. Pandemic struck us March, so this entire fiscal April through now has been pretty much of a washout. The good news is that as of August, September, leisure demand started picking up in some of our hotels across the country. November, December, January, possibly February are looking very strong from a leisure standpoint. You have MICE and social MICE demand coming back too. Corporate demand suffers, inbound demand suffers because flight connectivity is a challenge. Extended stay airline crew demand suffers. Hotels are to a great degree in financial peril. We are looking at a situation where many hotels don't have the ability to service debt because there's no free cash flow. And efforts are being made both by us, by CII, by a variety of other bodies in India, by hotel owners, to impress upon the government and the RBI and the ministry the need for advising bankers to lend moratoriums, to help with debt restructuring, to aid and assist the hotel industry in the middle of this mess. Some good efforts have seen fruition, some are yet to do that. But we're a resilient industry, as you know, Dr. Jayaram. Hoteliers are very, very resilient people. We will come out of this on the other side. It's not if, it's when. And when that does happen, it will be, I think, that much stronger and with that much more zeal.
So there have been a lot of questions about, what should a leader be like? And I think those questions are probably missed because we spoke about passion, we spoke about honesty, we spoke about sincerity. And in that respect, you as a consultant leader, how has your role changed in a pre-COVID world? And how is your role going to be different in a post-pandemic world?
So, consulting firms that are full service, such as ours, actually wear a variety of hats. And in an up market or in a busy cycle, I think a bulk of our time and effort goes towards helping promoters and investors plan their next projects, so feasibility studies and so forth. In down cycles such as these, I think our services become most useful from a valuation and worth assessment standpoint, because that is what the owner then needs to take to the bank to try and restructure their loans. And again, so we've been busy with feasibilities in the past. We've been busy with valuations now. We have been helping a few of our clients with their contract negotiations to sign up with good quality brands. A good amount of the last 6-7 months have also gone in being the mouthpiece for the industry, and in talking about the challenges the sector is facing. And being neutral and being third party allows us that leverage to speak on behalf of a vast mass of hospitality stakeholders. And we've been doing that, like I said, in conjunction with CII. And we've been writing white papers, and we've been quantifying the losses that we're facing and what it would take to come out of them. I guess when the industry bounces back from an executive search standpoint, we will start obviously getting talent back into the industry as quickly as we can. So we serve a wide array of needs, and I would imagine as we move out of this pandemic in 2021, hopefully, we'll only get busier trying to assist the sector as best as we can.
Okay, great. So you know what, two people who are both in the revenue management function, one who's interning, and of course, Niket Sood that you already know of. So, Niket's saying somehow, 2009 actually blocked us off, and, we never saw rate recoveries. So what is the future of revenue management going to be like? And in the same breath, Nandan, who's a revenue management intern at IHCL, says, how should we be better prepared, as people who are facing the recruitment market in the revenue management function going forward?
Sure. So, hey, Niket, how are you? How should we look at revenue management differently? I'm talking to the doctor of revenue management. I know Niket has an illustrious career in revenue management with Accor himself. I really don't know if I have meaningful advice for you two gentlemen or for anyone else from a revenue management standpoint. I can say from a overall strategy standpoint, which alludes to your second question actually, being better prepared essentially means, in the past what we've done is we've done sensitivities and scenarios of saying if a typical market works at 70% occupancy at $200 ADRs, how would the hotel behave if that occupancy were to drop 20 percentage points or go up 20 percentage points, if there was unusual business up or down, and how that would impact fixed and variable costs, right? I think this pandemic has taught us that we need to also plan contingencies for zero budget scenarios and zero revenue scenarios. And how does a hotel survive? Again, age-old wisdom, so it's not news. But the fact is that healthy businesses, smart businesses are those that have retained earnings, that keep a reserve aside, that plan for contingencies that were not foreseen. And that's why they are called contingencies and they're called unforeseen, because you can't foresee them. And you need to have the pockets for that. I think the only other important thing I'd mention though is it's very easy to ask the promoter or the investor to make all these efforts, and running a business is not easy. This has to be a whole hog. The government, the powers to be, they need to understand that the hospitality sector needs to be lent a keen eye. They need to be given longer repayment tenures. They need to be given lower rates of borrowing. They need to be given moratoriums. They need to be treated like infrastructure the same way you would treat roads and railways and bridges, because just like all of these infrastructures, hospitality is infrastructure. We enable a market. A hotel doesn't make money just for the hotel. A convention center doesn't make money just for the convention center. It makes money for a market at large. And treat it as infrastructure, allow it the liberties you allow infrastructure, and both the promoter and the nation in the bargain would then I guess benefit.
Yeah, thanks for that. So you know what, I'm going to just jump in and add my 2 bits. So Niket, my advice to you is I am suspicious at this point of time when we're looking at the kind of data that's coming to us from the markets and from the consulting reports, whether we're really measuring what is relevant being measured at this point of time. So, taking a look at RevPARs nosediving, taking a look at occupancy levels not being at the places that they ought to be, I'm not sure we are measuring the right thing. And all of this depressing information is probably just sitting on your desk. So my advice to you, Nikit, would be we got to change our measurement metrics. And quickly on the tail of that is what are some of the new age measurement metrics that are going to be coming about in the future? And that question comes to me from Ayush. So Ayush, if you've been looking at my articles on Hospitality Biz, and there are 5 of those that have come out in the past 5 months, and the 6th one is coming out in the next few weeks, that will answer your question on where tech is taking us, where AI is taking us, how AI is going to drive revenue management and so on. But I think we are kind of running out of time, and therefore I'm going to just very quickly go to a question I hope, Achin, you'll answer for me very honestly. And we had budgeted 30 minutes and we've gone far ahead of that. So, Achin, honest answer. Who's the real managing partner at home?
See, you ask questions with obvious answers, don't you? It's actually not that obvious an answer. It's not me. It's not my wife. It's not even my elder daughter. It's my 7-year-old. She's the one who runs the.
So I think that is really amazing. That is really amazing. So you know what? I've got a couple of questions here, Achin. If you're not rushed for time. Good evening, Mr. Khanna. This is Siddhant Kapai. A lot's been spoken about how hotels are innovating and changing their products and processes in order to cope with the pandemic. And therefore, the so what of it. And then the second one, what about the homestay market? Has consumer perception towards homestays changed? And is it likely to be chosen over hotels in a post-pandemic world? So I think we will take those 2 questions, and then we'll potentially, if you were here with me, Achin, I promise you, it would have no longer been just a virtual coffee with Jerry. It would have been a GNT with Jerry. So I'm looking forward to that. But let's get these 2 questions off the way now.
Sure. No, the second one, which is I think important, is my view is actually very different from the one that has just been proposed by this gentleman, I believe. I actually believe branded and organized supply is going to stand to benefit as a result of this pandemic. And the mom and pops and the homestays and the unorganized segment, much as it was really picking up over the last few years, has had to move back a few steps purely on the back of perception and consistency in product and consistency in service that Marriott, an Accor, a Taj, or any major brand would offer, is offering the peace of mind and comfort to the traveler that unfortunately the homestay market cannot. And to that end, I believe homestays have a challenge ahead. What I will say is that boutique, getaway, high-end, small inventory resorts seem to have an interesting future in India. This was how Europe has grown all along. This is now being embraced in various parts of India, and people are tired to some degree to go to the same exact type of hotel even under the branded realm. And so the boutique space and the ultra luxury segment is seeing some interesting pickup from the Indian demographic. And you're not really reliant on the foreigner for that. The Indians are actually patronizing it themselves. I'm sorry, I didn't get the other question.
So the other question was, well, this is also one of our grads. It's Siddhant Kapai, and he says, good evening, Mr. Khanna. A lot has been spoken about how hotels are innovating and changing their products and processes in order to cope with the pandemic. So I would obviously say the so what. So what that we are changing, and so what that we have to redo our products and processes all over again. What does this mean for us? How do we reorient ourselves?
I'll tell you.
We didn't learn the stuff that we were expected to do today. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it means actually, and I look at everything numerically. That's just how my brain's preconditioned. When you get pushed to a corner, you cut the flab. And that doesn't mean just people. That means processes. That means unnecessary costs. That means systems that were not fine-tuned. The GOP of a hotel, or the gross operating profit of a hotel, is likely to improve post-COVID, even what it was vis-a-vis what it was pre-COVID, because hotel companies, hotel owners have been pushed to look at their processes and their systems and to make themselves more efficient, because they have to. And some of this will trickle down in the post-pandemic world where you'll have more profitable hotels as a result of this exercise. So it's a good thing.
Well, I can only say 1997 and 1998 were years when, events that took place at that point of time gave us a lot of fear on how the future world's going to look like. So if you remember, a couple of people deciding to challenge status quo by, driving an aeroplane into the towers. Okay, and from that time, what happened in Asia in terms of the whole economic recession, what happened during SARS, and now I think the human spirit and our resilience has only become better, because at least in the near line of sight that I have, and I am saying, like Philip Kotler used to say, you can't really drive the car by looking out of the back window. But sometimes you've got to peep behind to see what's happened in the past and how we've dealt with it. And I think as humanity, we've dealt with it really well. And we've been resilient, we've been strong, and there's been a huge renewal and the push, the energy for resurgence as we go forward. There are a lot of lessons to be learned. Many of those lessons, I believe, come at the personality level, and many of those lessons come from the ecosystem in which we operate. And people like yourself, what Hotelivate does, okay, the kind of intellectual growth that Hotelivate brings even to students in classrooms today. Thank you so much for doing that, Achin. And more than anything else, just to bring everything back to where curiosity led the cat. So your curiosity, your ability to question status quo, your ability to challenge some beliefs and systems have led you to be where you are today. We are extremely proud of you, and I can't even tell you enough how much I'm looking forward to having you over when you come to recruit again, so I can look forward to my GNT with you. But thank you once again for spending this time. It was absolutely wonderful. I'm delighted to see you again, and hopefully we'll have a lot more white when we meet the next time. So thank you for spending this evening with me, Achin. And for all of you who are watching, cheers again. This time it's a virtual coffee. The next time it's going to be a GNT. Thank you so much. Cheers and bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, cheers. Bye now.
See you. Bye-bye.